All right, old school NBA fans, self-researched NBA facts. Got another video for you. As always, thanks to anybody who watches my videos, subscribes to my channel. I really appreciate it. I've been getting a lot of pushback lately whenever I do a video about either Jordan's teammates, Jordan's competitions, or anything about LeBron James. Those three things always get pushback. And it's from Jordan haters, people that are try to bring him down. Been doing it for years now. This video here, I'm going to talk about something that I've heard people say, and I totally disagree. And before anybody says, Rex, if you're listening, you, for example, specifically, who for some reason, you're coming at me all of a sudden, whatever. Scottie Pippen as the best number 2 or the best Robin of all time. I've heard these things said. Now, I don't think anybody with a straight face could sit here and tell me that. Now, I'm gonna give you some, and then let's just take a look. And at the end of it, I bet you don't think it's Pippen. All right. So, if we're just talking about dynasties, teams that won 3 championships in 5 years, 6 years, or more, whatever. Now, are we prepared to say that, like the Boston, I'll start with them in the 60s, 50s and 60s. Are we prepared to say that, Bill Russell was clearly the best player? Was Scottie Pippen a more effective player than Bob Cousy? I think Cousy was, but whatever. If you're going to compare his game to Bob Cousy's game, they're from 2 different eras, 2 different positions. You can't do it. You just have to go by who was more effective, who, brought the winning, who affected winning more, I guess you could say. So that's one player right there. At the very least, we'd have to sit and think about that. Now, Bob Cousy won an MVP, okay? That's just one thing. I think he's a 13-time All-Star. I think he was a 10 or 11-time first-team All-NBA. That's pretty strong to get past. When Cousy retired, you had John Havlicek. Is Scottie Pippen better than John Havlicek? Now, that's a lot more fair comparison because they both played small forward. They were both, getting all defenses. They got rebounds, assists, the whole bit. That's definitely a more fair comparison. I don't know the answer myself. I don't know. I tend to say Havlicek was better, but he won with Russell, a bunch, five rings I think it was, maybe even 6. He won 2 with JoJo White and Dave Cowens, 2, completely different teams basically in the 70s. All right. Now here's one that there's just no argument. And that was in 1980, you would have to say Kareem was top dog on the Lakers. He won the MVP. He'd been on the Lakers for, I think that was his 5th season, 6th season, something like that. I think it was his 5th. But anyway, are we ready to say Scottie Pippen was better than Magic Johnson? I don't think so. Okay, how about when Magic was then the lead dog with Kareem as the number 2? I don't think so. Not until probably 1986, 87, even though Kareem was still making first-team All-NBAs and stuff. All right, how about Larry Bird with Tiny Archibald? Now, Archibald at that time, 1981, and this is, again, just part of dynasties. Hard to say. I'd probably give Pippen the slight edge at that time. Archibald was older. Okay, so maybe we give Pippen that one. But what about Kevin McHale in the 1984 and 1986 championships? I say McHale was a more effective player than Pippen was, at least in their primes. I would go McHale. Not by a mile. It's still fairly close, but I still would say it's McHale. Of course, Shaq and Kobe, 2000, 2002. There's no way Pippen was better than Kobe Bryant, even in the three-peat. He wasn't quite. I guess he was in the beginning of his prime around then. There's no chance. How about Steph Curry with Kevin Durant? No, Pippen was not a more effective player than Kevin Durant. He wasn't. Different era. He did more things, but not a more effective overall player. it just wasn't. Now, we got the dynasties out of the way, and I showed at least two or three that for sure was somebody else, not Pippen, that was the better number 2 player. And some you have to question. All right, just 1 year champions. I'm just going to run them down real quick. 1971, Milwaukee had Kareem as the lead dog with Oscar Robertson as the number 2. Oscar to me all day. 1972, the Lakers. Wilt with Jerry West or West with Wilt, whoever you think was the top dog there. They were both really close. Either one is better than Scottie Pippen, no doubt about it. 1974, again with Dave Cowens with John Havlicek. Again, Havlicek I think was just a better player. 1983, how about Moses Malone with Dr. J? Both those guys, I think those guys won the MVP they won it. I think it was 79, 81, 82, and 83. Those 2 guys won 4 of the 5 MVPs leading up to that year. So there's just no shot. I think Moses won 3, and if you count the ABA, I think Dr. J won 3. All right, in 1999, Tim Duncan with David Robinson. He was still making all NBAs then. I think he would have been about 32, 33 years old. David Robinson, no doubt about it. 2006 on Miami, when Dwayne Wade was lead dog, because he won Finals MVP, all that. Shaquille O'Neal is the number 2. Shaq was better than Scottie Pippen, even at that age. I think in 2005, Shaq finished second for MVP. So he definitely had some left in the tank. 2012, 2013. LeBron James, a lead dog. How about Dwayne Wade as the number 2? Are we going to say Pippen was better than Dwayne Wade? I say no. No, sir. 2016. Here's one that you just have to question. I don't know the answer. LeBron James with Kyrie Irving. Now, I would say it's close. I mean, offensively, obviously, Irving much better all-around offensive player than Pippen. Defensively, Pippen was better than Kyrie. It's close. 2020, LeBron James with Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, definitely a better player than Scottie Pippen. Now, here's some questionable ones, too. And again, I don't know the answer. I'm just asking. Do we think last year, Jason Tatum with Jaylen Brown? Now, I don't watch as much NBA now. I may need your guys' help. Is Jaylen Brown in the same vicinity as Scottie Pippen? I'm not exactly sure. From what I've watched and what I've looked up, I would say it's close, but I would probably say Pippen was a little better. But you guys tell me. But it has to be questioned. How about 1967? You got Wilt Chamberlain with Hal Greer. He's a top 75 player. I don't know. It's one that needs to be asked. Pippen might be a hair better, but I don't know. Again, let's just ask the question. How about the Knicks in 1970? You got Willis Reed as top dog, and he won the MVP, first team all defense, first team all NBA. He was clearly the best player. And then you got Walt Frazier, a similar player to Pippen, right around the same offensive numbers and right around the same defensive. Close. Has to be asked. How about 89 and 90? You got Isaiah with either Dennis Rodman or Dumars, whoever you think the second best player was. Rodman was winning Defensive Players of the Year around that time. I would tend to say, it's close. Obviously, offensively, Pippen was certainly better than Rodman. Defensively, Rodman a little better. It's tough. 95, Akeem Olajuwon with Clyde Drexler. Close. It's close. These are all questions that need to be asked. 2008, Kevin Garnett with Paul Pierce. Another one. It's close, right? Questionable. 2009 and 10, Kobe with Pau Gasol. Probably Pippen, but Gasol had some good numbers. His offense was pretty much in line with Pippen's. I would say Pippen was a little better defender, though, so maybe Pippen gets the edge there, but I don't know. Here's some that weren't champions, but what about Shaq and Penny in the mid-90s? Penny Hardaway was first-team All-NBA 2 years in a row. He finished third for MVP 1 year. That's pretty good. I don't know. I don't know. Prime Penny versus Prime Pippen. Pretty close. How about Dirk Nowitzki with Steve Nash? Steve Nash is a 2-time MVP winner, top 75 player, a better all-around offensive player. His defense was nowhere near as good as Pippen's. Gotta ask. Moses Malone or Karl Malone with John Stockton. Is Pippen better than Stockton? I say he wasn't. I think Stockton was just the best pure passer. I guess you could say assist man. John Stockton was the best assist man in the history of the NBA. Not passer. That's magic, no doubt. But John Stockton made the good technical pass as good as anybody I've ever seen. How about 1960 through 1962? Wilt Chamberlain with Paul Arizin. And before you automatically fly off the handle, Paul Arizin was a very good player. If they would have had a Finals MVP, 1956 Philly won the championship. He was their best player. He would have won Finals MVP. Really good player. Top 75. Excellent player. It's close. 1960, the 68-69 Lakers. You got Wilt, Jerry West, and Elgin Baylor. Any one of those three, whoever you think is the top dog, the number 2 is better than Scottie Pippen. No doubt about it. And then the last one is, how about Oscar Robertson with Jerry Lucas? Another top 75 good player. It's got to be close. All right. So, people talk about how, Scottie Pippen was I've heard people say one of the 5 best players in the 90s and blah, blah, blah. Well, let's just go over the MVP ballot real quick. Okay, so Pippen, when he was a rookie in 88, all the way through 1991, he was not on the MVP ballot. So that's 88, 89, 90, and 91. Pippen was a 4-year college player. So he was 22 when he came into the NBA. This was not a 19 or a 20-year-old guy. Fully developed. 4 years, he was not on the MVP ballot. All right? That's about, a quarter of his career. All right? 1992, he finally makes it. But here's the thing. Michael Jordan in 92 was number 1 in MVP because he won the MVP. Scottie Pippen finished 9th. However, Chris Mullin finished 6th and Tim Hardaway 8th. So at that time, would you say the voters thought Tim Hardaway was more valuable than Pippen? That's what it says. If Tim Hardaway is the second best player on a team and he finished ahead of Pippen in the MVP voting, wouldn't that suggest that they thought that Tim Hardaway was more valuable than Scottie Pippen in 1992? That's the way I see it. 1993, Michael Jordan finished 3rd for MVP. Karl Malone was tied for 8th, and John Stockton was tied for 10th. Scottie Pippen was not even on the MVP ballot. So that again indicates to me they thought John Stockton was more valuable than Scottie Pippen was. Here's another one the same year. Mark Price tied for 8th for MVP. Man, that guy was good. Well, how about Brad Daugherty? At least in 93, he was tied for 10th in MVP. No Pippen anywhere to be found. So I'm just saying, I've just given you 3 examples where somebody's second best, somebody's best, the Robin, the second best player on the team, finished ahead of Pippen in the MVP voting. Okay. 1995. Now, MJ missed 65 games. He still finished 11th for MVP. Pippen was 7th. Karl Malone was 3rd, John Stockton 8th. So that would probably indicate they thought, even though Pippen may have been the top dog there, but that's how close it was. Shaquille O'Neal finished 2nd, Penny Hardaway 10th. So I don't know how we're doing that because Jordan actually would have been the sidekick. I don't know how we're doing that in 95, but there's guys that are right around him. Okay, so 95 is kind of an anomaly outlier. 1996. Michael Jordan finished 1st for MVP. Scottie Pippen was 5th. But there were 2 guys in the neighborhood. Gary Payton was 6th. Sean Kemp was 8th. Penny Hardaway was 3rd. And Shaquille O'Neal was tied for 9th. Close. Now here's one I find really interesting. In 1997, Jordan finished 2nd for MVP. Pippen finished 11th. Well, Glenn Rice finished 5th for MVP in 1997. Anthony Mason tied for 9th, ahead of Pippen. So that's your number 2, right? Finished ahead of Pippen. All right. And then 1998, Jordan 1st, Pippen finished 10th. Well, Tim Duncan finished 5th for MVP as a rookie. David Robinson was 7th. So I've given you 7, 8, 9 examples here where the number 2 during the 90s finished ahead of Pippen in MVP voting. Now, again, that's just the voters. I get that. But, you know, they love the Bulls and all that kind of thing. And they were definitely sometimes, I think, maybe voting in certain situations, you know, like the 94 All-Star game. Definitely comes to mind with Horace Grant and B.J. Armstrong both getting All-Stars. I know the East was weak then, but whatever. But anyway, the point is, are you one of the people that thinks Scottie Pippen was the best number 2 or Robin, whatever you want to call it, the best, second best player on a team, on a championship team, on a dynasty? Are we sure we're really going to sit here and say that? Because it's not even close with several of them. And some of them are definitely questionable. But I tell you right now, he's not better than Kevin McHale. He's not better than Magic or Kareem. He's not better than Shaq or Kobe. So there's 3 right away. Dr. J and Moses Malone. That's one of the best tandems of all time. Jerry West and Wilt Chamberlain. One of the best tandems of all time. Bill Russell and Bob Cousy. Bill Russell and John Havlicek. These tandems are great. And I just don't see how anybody with a straight face is going to sit there and tell me that Pippen is definitively better than any of these guys. I mean, even Dwayne Wade with LeBron, you know, better than Pippen. The credentials say so. Finals MVP, scoring champion, all the above. You know, yeah, Pippen had the all defenses and all that, but he was not the scorer like that. He was not the shooter, create your own shot kind of guy. Clutch, you know, hit clutch shots, you know, fadeaway jumpers. That just wasn't Pippen. So anyway, that's about all I got for this video. If somebody has, you know, if somebody thinks Pippen's number 2, tell me in the comments all about it. I want somebody to make a case as to how Scottie Pippen is the best sidekick of all time. I'd love to hear it because I've never heard anybody make a solid enough case for it. So anyway, that's all I got for this video. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, please hit the like button. And till next time.